So, hello and welcome. I'm Charlie, the co-founder of the Lifestyle Design Convention. And today I would love to talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about right now. It's reading. It's actually speed reading. And today with me, speed reading and rapid learning coach Tomas Libas. Hi,
Hi.
Thomas. Thanks
Thanks
for
so much.
taking the time. I just found your YouTube channel 2 weeks ago, and with all these speed reading techniques to learn faster. So yeah, I'm really curious. What's actually the story? Why speed reading?
Well, it all started about 4 years ago, and at that point, I really hated reading. So, like, I hated books all the time in school. I would not do it. I would just use my charm, I guess, to talk with the teachers and say, "Hey, I really have no time to read the books. I'm so sorry, but could we please make it some other way?" Somehow it would happen. So I wouldn't do the books. I wouldn't even participate in the classes that much, but I managed to finish it somehow. And then after that, like as I was finishing school, I went to work in summer in Norway. In one summer, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go work in Norway, work in a farm, and I worked there for 90 days. Those 90 days, I figured if I'm working there for 90 days, just picking strawberries, I might as well do something useful. So I just go online, and because I was just a broke student, I just pirate a bunch of audiobooks and say, okay, let's try to do these audiobooks and see how it works, right? So having never read it before, this was something very, very new to me. But so I don't even know what kind of books because like I never liked books. I just do the most popular, like okay, the law of attraction, kind of self-development books, body language, things like that. And it was interesting. For 90 days, I did like 90 books, and that's like probably more hours than bachelors and masters maybe even combined.
Crazy, huh?
So when you think about it, it's yeah, it was a great shift in my life, one of the greatest shifts. And after that, I still hated reading, but when I came back to school after the summer to do my last year in school, I was like a completely new paradigm, completely new shift of thinking, of being, of living, and that was something that I had a lot of knowledge here, but I didn't apply any of it in real life. So you could say it's not really that valuable at that point. But that was the beginning of the story, and then I met my mentor, who we actually who invited me to come to his speed reading seminar, his rapid learning seminar, to learn about memory, how to read books faster, things of that nature. And I said, okay, yeah, I'd love to. So that
Great.
was where I first started learning, and then in the next 5 days, I finished like 38 books in like all of them. So it sounds a bit weird, but what that means is that okay, you put them all on paper, you get the main ideas, the main messages, and even right now, if you ask me about one of these books, I could probably tell you, like, okay, this is the main message. These are some key ideas, so you actually do even remember what you read.
Crazy, crazy. Yeah, 38 books in 5 days. Ah, yeah, it's a long way, hey, man. And actually, for you personally, why should people read more? And why should they learn to speed read? What are the benefits?
Well, first of all, one of my favorite books is Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. In this book, he basically talks about different levels of consciousness. So, the lowest levels being like shame, guilt, then going a little bit up like fear and desire, which is like a lot of the population is in at the moment. Then going up to like ego and pride. And then finally, there's this threshold where it's where you become proactive. So finally, you break out of that ego shell and you say, okay, what can I do here? When you create your convention, you say, okay, I'll just do it because you see there's a vision for it. So you break out of the old patterns and go towards the new ones. And this is a very, very interesting paradigm that Dr. Hawking has established for levels of consciousness. And I think reading ultimately is the number one way to expand your levels of consciousness. Because
Mhm.
even as he says, is exposure to new information uh, increases your level of consciousness, your awareness. And then at the same time, if you want to do something in business, you just read a few books, you apply, and you get results. There's like no way it cannot happen. And it took me to meet many people who have done it, who have traveled that road from nothing into great some things, to see that wow, this is actually possible. Um, so that's how I view reading. Anything you want to achieve, anything you want to learn more about, or any skill you want to acquire, or any problem you want to solve, for that matter, it would be very naive, I think, to say that nobody else has had it in the past. And if they've had it, they've probably written it down somewhere. It's just that we need to find it right.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So I guess it also comes to reading the right books, right? Like, how do you choose books actually?
So I think books choose you ultimately.
Mm-hmm. For me too, when I
It's
have a book, for example, Learned Optimism from Martin
heard about it.
Seligman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't have it here actually, but it's awesome. It was like $5 on Amazon used, and it's like 25 years of knowledge of one of the best psychologists out there in the field of positive psychology for
Mm,
$5
so
in like 200 pages, and nobody reads it. I'm like, people, you have to read. You have to read. Yeah, I totally resonate with you. It's awesome.
yeah, I
So
like what you're saying as well. It seems like we're kindred spirits.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Great to have you here. And my problem right now is I read like most people 30 minutes, like now it's like 1 hour to 90 minutes a day. But the problem is I read, in my opinion, I read too slow. So how does it work, speed reading?
Right. Well, first, just to give a very brief introduction, most people read very, very slowly, and we think it's normal because we think everything in our life is normal if we don't see an alternative. So the first stage, we're just ignorant. We are unaware that we can do it differently. Because in schools we were taught, okay, you can at first you just say the words aloud, and then you just shut up and say it in your mind. So because you're still saying it in your mind, you're reading at the exact same speed at which you're speaking. So how we're speaking now, we cannot go any faster. And for our brains to read at the speed, it's boring. So imagine if you watch a movie and it's you slow it down like 5 times. Well, you probably could still watch it, but if you slow it down 20 times, it's just way too boring. Like it's just one shot is just gonna take like 2 minutes. So that's the same with reading. If you read so slowly, you're just gonna be bored. And at the same time, if you read faster, you're gonna be more focused, you're gonna be more alert, and you're gonna be more engaged in it. It's gonna be basically like a movie. If you're reading it fast enough, you're getting those images fast enough. That's ultimately the goal with speed reading. So that's one thing. We want to simply learn to read faster. And then the other one is the information handling part, which is a fancy term, which just simply means that we have to learn to discern which information is the most useful, the most valuable, and on the other hand, which one we need to discard. Because there's a lot of fluff, a lot of needless information. So once again, we want to focus on the uh, needle in the haystack, you can call it. Or imagine if the book is a gold mine, you go into the gold mine and you just want some gold. What are you going to do with a gold mine? Nothing. But if you have a piece of gold, you can sell it and make money, which is
Mhm.
something. Or you can do anything else. You can donate the gold to some children, because information is power. Information sells. If you know how to package it, you can sell it. And there's plenty of people doing it well with books, with seminars, audio tapes, etc.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, now, do you have some practical techniques for the people out there to apply in their day-to-day life if they want to read faster and more effective?
sure. So a lot of the people that come to me, I actually hate reading. Some of them love reading. So some people like come, like very geeky guys, who's like, hey, I want to read more of these books. It's cool. So that's some people. Then there's some people who come to me and they're like, I hated reading all my life. Thomas, help me. I need this because I teach something, and then I just need to read many books, or I need this because I want to learn business. I need it. Some guys poor, some guys rich, anything from students to six-figure, seven-figure entrepreneurs. All of them need books. All of them like books, and even if they don't like reading, all of them know the value of reading. So first of all, what I tell to them, like, that's most people who don't like reading. It's most people. You already, for example, have tasted the value of it, and you read the books that you love, that you resonate with. So for you, reading is great. If you don't like reading, first of all, to someone watching this, if you don't like reading, then what I can say is, first, you want to find the books that you love and only read in those books what's interesting for you. So out of all the books, if this is all the books, you want to only read the ones that you love. And even the books, when you have them, when you're reading this actual book, only focus on what's the most interesting for you. The rest, you have the permission from Thomas, the speed reading coach, to skip, uh, to skip what's not interesting for you, to actually skip and go for only what's the most important, and only what's the most interesting. And at first, there is this belief, am I missing something very important? We may think that, right? But in reality, it's just a learned behavior to read from top to bottom. Once you've done this with 30 books or so, 30 to 50 books, you kind of get that habit of saying, okay, it's just natural. I'm just going to get some information in this 1 hour, in these 30 minutes, in these 15 minutes even that I have, get the most out of the book. So once again, if you're not interested in reading, focus on the books that you really love. So for me, I used to do many business books, for example. And then at a certain point, they become not so interesting. Or these pop psychology books, like, I read like 10 books, 20 books, I don't know, on body language, things like that, which is quite a bit. And then they repeat a lot. And at the same time, you change and you become interested in different things, different ideas. So while in the past I would read, the body language guide, which is great, and maybe I'll reread it sometime soon. Why not? Uh, Now I'm maybe interested in something, like a Dalai Lama book or some ancient old book of wisdom. And sure, sometimes I'll still do a business book, quite often actually, and a psychology book, etc. But I think it's about really finding out, as Tim Ferriss says, the low information diet. This is where you want to go. This is what's gonna get you there. And that's considering the books that you have to read. If you want to read for fun, just get a bottle of champagne and then just in your jacuzzi, feel free to read it and relax. But if there's something you have to do, you have to read to learn something, be very, very proactive about it and focus on those books that are the most important, those parts of the books that are the most important. That's the number one speed reading rule, if you will. Skip 80% of the books you were going to read and skip 80% of the book that you read. So while
Okay.
that may seem very counterintuitive, try it out just several times. For some people, it sticks very easily and they say, okay, I see how it works. But then there's some nuances that I'm going to give you as well so that you don't feel like, I'm doing something wrong. So does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about it from your own experience? Do you do this?
I actually don't do this. I read the whole books because I don't want to miss something actually. But what I also do, I focus. I've read one book about speed reading, and I focus on my eye fixations. I try to chunk the words, not reading 2 or 3 words, but with every eye fixation, I try to read like 7 to 8 words. It's like what
Nice.
I'm doing right now.
Absolutely. I understand. Well, first of all, let's address the big issue here. You're reading all of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have to say to that, that's like probably the biggest problem that I face working with people isn't to teach them how to speed read. It's to get them to stop feeling bad about themselves for not reading all of the book,
Yeah.
which is weird. It's like this, but as my mentor says, you first need to deal with psychology, and then you can deal with real life situation. So in a year from now, you will forget 98% of the information you will learn. If this is a year, then 98% of this information that you learn here, you will forget at the end of the year. When you go to a university or college, you forget 98% of the information that you learn throughout the year. When you read books for a year, you're going to forget 98%. You're going to remember only about 2% of the information that you read. So isn't it more valuable if you do forget 98% of the book to actually focus on those parts that you will remember? And that's really, really the key to speed reading. If I have to say it in a couple of minutes, this is how it goes. So this is all of the information. This is all of the book. What we want to do is we want to get the picture of all of this book. So we want to get the map, So the map in NLP, they say the map is not the territory, but we want to get the map. When we know the map, we can explore the territory, right? So if we have the gist of the book, the map of the book to see, okay, this is where I can find this, this is where I can find this is how it's written. Then when you want to actually find it, and when you want to find what's the most important, which is the next step, you get the map, and then you want to find what's the most important in this book for you. And when you find what's the most important, you actually focus on it. And you'll find that the more you read, the more it's going to be the same things written down. And it's not going to be that many things that are new, not that many things that you can take and use and apply. So here you want to focus on things that are interesting, valuable, applicable to you that you can take and put into practice. Uh, First thing, once again, get the map. Second thing, find out what's the most important for you. Then the third step is read. So I have this method that I called firm reading, which is a four-step method. So first is you flip through the book. Next, you find out what's the most important in the book. And third, you actually go into reading the most important parts. And here I say, imagine if you had a gun to the head and someone told you, hey, you have to read this book in an hour. Otherwise, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to kill you and I'm going to kill all of your family.
Mm-hmm.
You have to read this book in an hour. And on top of that, you have to make a seminar about this book. So immediately after that. So you are going to read this book in a different way. You're not going to start, okay, just forward, da, 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 no, you're not going to be slow. You're not going to be reading like this, not like this. You're going to be reading like this, right? And that's how you should read ultimately if you want to be efficient. And that's not tiring. So it's important that you also relax when you do it. You want to be relaxed, alert, comfortable, not in a hammock, on a chair like this, and then simply read.
Mm-hmm.
And get the map, find what's the most important, and get on to the reading. And that's basically how it works. Does that make sense at all?
Awesome. I already feel it. It makes totally sense. This example with the gun to your head, I will really apply this. It's awesome. Thank you very much. It's like Ty Lopez calls it the consistency bias, right? We want to be consistent. You want to read the whole book, but it doesn't care. Yeah.
So, does he say that you should read all of the book, or does he say that you shouldn't?
No, 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 no. He says too. Like, I mean, you already paid for the book. The author has his money, you know. So he says the same like you. The book is his mentor, so to say. He takes the book, and the book helps him.
Right.
Like your quote. My favorite quote of yours is like, "Make your book your little bitch,
Yeah.
and make it work for you." And it's totally that. Don't work for the book. Don't read it all, but make it work for you. Only take the things that you think are valuable for you. Exactly. Yeah. Awesome.
Brilliant. I agree.
Remembering, I have troubles remembering the stuff I read. So I saw another interview of you, and you said like learning is behavior change equals behavior change.
Wonderful. Yeah, because we don't really need to memorize the book, do we? It's not high school anymore. Like, what do you do if you memorize the book? Is it of any value? On the other hand, if you don't remember anything, that's pretty bad too. So it's like waste of time. So what do we want from the book actually? And I got this learning equals behavior change from the wonderful marketer Eben Pagan. Look him up. Great, great guy. He says learning equals behavior change, and that if you have not learned anything, like if your behavior hasn't changed, you haven't learned anything. So whenever we're learning something, like if we have not changed our pattern in which we act, we didn't really learn anything. If you read 50 books on business, you don't start it, you don't practice, you don't try it out and make the mistakes, you didn't learn anything. On the other hand, if you read a Tony Robbins book and you say, instead of saying one even a small thing like this, right? When someone asks you how are you, instead of saying I'm okay, I'm fine, you can just say I'm super fantastic, doing super gut, as they say in German, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Something like this, and then just a small thing like this, if you take and apply in your life, it's worth something. Don't you agree? But if you read 100 books and don't do any one single thing, it's worth nothing. And that's where I see people really struggle. Really struggle. Most people don't even don't even have the willpower to grab a book and read it. That's most people, sadly, and that's changing. So, but then there's the next stage of people who read a lot, but then a lot of them also just get stuck in this mental masturbation stage where you read and that's it, and you don't do anything. And that's where I was myself for a very, very long period of time. So the main thing then is to actually do both. Why only why only try and fail by yourself when there's the most amazing minds available? If you want to learn about compassion and happiness and peace, why not read Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa's biography? If you want to be a revolutionary, why not read Gandhi's biography? If you want to learn how to speed read, why not read a book about it? It's just that proactivity that it gives you. Wherever you want to go, you get there, right? So also, if there's one advice that I have, like one of them, the main two key takeaways, I guess, that you could say, is one of them is you want to find out how the book is written. You want to find out what you want to focus on the book, and focus only on these things, and then see what can I take out of it and use. And once you find something, actually use it. So that may sound very silly, but if we look back at ourselves, if I look back at myself, if you look back at yourself, you probably don't do as much as you could. And that doesn't mean we need to force anything, but simply if we read the book, there should be at least one or two things that we can take and use, no matter how small or how big. It's all about action, isn't it? And going for what we want. So action is the second thing. You focus on what's the most important in the book. The second key takeaway is you act on it, and you do it. So you say, if you read a book on relationships, and you say you get an insight, you can get an insight and see, wow, I really need to spend more time with my family. I'm not doing it enough. So you can say, next month I'm gonna go and hang out with my family. Uh, and then you say, next month, first weekend of next month, I'm gonna go do it. You go do it, and that's a brilliant action that you just took. But then, and that's great. But if you manage to turn it into a habit, if you see like, wow, this is amazing, I should continue doing it, then you may even turn it into a habit and see every month I'll go visit them at least once. And that's the real value of books. That's the real transformative value of any piece of information to apply.
Great, great, awesome, awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. And to end with, I would like to ask you like your three favorite books that people should absolutely read.
Very good. Okay, I'm gonna let the higher powers come to me for this
Mm-hmm.
one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna channel that higher wisdom. So for the exact viewer, you, um, I say my top three books. Okay, so my top three books are two of the books are actually ancient Taoist classics, which is Chinese books, and they're both by Lao Tzu. One of them is Tao Te Ching, a book with a complex name. Just Google Lao Tzu Tao Te Ching, and then there's the other one, Hua Hu Ching. So Hua Hu Ching is the unknown teachings of Lao Tzu, and that's from the ancient Eastern esoteric traditions, but also it's basically a manual for the art of living. It's a manual, for success in any area, whether it be in business, in bed, or you name it. I mean, it's those principles that you can read about there. It's something that's gonna last for eons, for ages, I think. And I really enjoy the ancient books of wisdom first of all, before we talk of any business book. I'm not that much of a business guy. I'm more of an ancient wisdom book guy. So that's what you're gonna get from me. And then if I had to name a third book, well, I had a few that are transformative. One of yours on yourself there, as we mentioned, is the Jetzt, the Power of
Jetzt.
Now, by Eckhart Tolle.
Awesome.
How do you
I
say that
love
in
it.
German, actually?
Jetzt die Kraft der Gegenwart. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly. Jetzt. Yeah. Really
Okay.
harsh. Jetzt. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I like it. I like it. So this one is one. I actually did A New Earth, which is another book of Eckhart Tolle. Shifted some paradigms for me, and then I would say, disregard what I just said about the top books, unless you feel like you'd like to read those, of course, feel free to look them up. But if you feel like you don't resonate, maybe that's not what you need right now. If you, but there's the book that you need right now somewhere, and I'd urge that you go find it and get the most out of it, and only focus on those that really flow your boat. So like now I'm reading some new age books, right? Even that's because I've just read quite a few of these business and psychology books, etc., etc. And now I'm interested to something else. And this would seem a bit weird with my logical brain, but that's something that I'm really responding to and resonating with. So I urge you that you read the same, what you really resonate with. And act on it, and that's going to bring you closer to your heart, closer to your passion. Align your life with your heart.
Awesome. I realized I could talk hours with you. It really resonates everything. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, I guess unfortunately our time is over. But
My pleasure.
yeah, I will post your link of your website down below with your Facebook. So if somebody is interested in learning to speed read, to learn faster, to remember stuff, look up his YouTube channel. And yeah, if you want to buy some tickets for the Lifestyle Design Convention as well, or if you would like to go on the website, look what kind of speakers we have. For example, Steve Pavlina will be there, Mark Manson. And yeah, we'll put also the links there as well. Thank you very much for taking your time. Really everything resonates with me. I have so many ideas right now. I will apply it. I will be in Colombia for 7 weeks. I have like 15 books on my Kindle and 3 I will take with me. So let's do this there.